To the taco cave we go.
All right. Welcome to Fabled Hunters.
I'm Yuanji.
I'm Saint.
And today we're going to talk about some stuff.
Yes, we are going to talk about some stuff. I think it's been a long time coming, and we haven't brought this up in years. Yuanji, you and I haven't actually discussed how we even got here and became, co-hosts of Fabled Hunters, right?
I think we talked about it over, for some of the year, in review, we, mentioned it, briefly.
In passing, yeah.
But never a full episode about it. So you started the channel, I think originally with Michael Fang.
Yeah. Welcome to Fabled Hunters.
I'm Michael.
I'm Saint. One of the original calling champions, right?
And originally, I think we were just primarily just a box opening channel.
All right, this is box 3 of our first case of Welcome to Wraith.
I think you told me that you and Michael had a conversation where you're like, Michael, I'm just going to open all this stuff. And Michael's like, no, just film it first, at least.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's make it into content. And then we got into content. Michael got busy with the store, and then he wanted to take the competitive play route. And what about your involvement? You were behind the scenes since day one, right?
Yeah. So originally it was just editing the videos. Also maybe there to give some feedback on as we started evolving the channel a little bit. I think when Ada joined the channel, took a more creative role, I guess.
You did. You helped us as a showrunner even back then. But at the very, very beginning, you were just like, Saint, you're being a boomer. If you keep talking no filter, you're gonna get canceled. And you had to filter out a couple things. You had to bleep out a couple things. You had to fast forward. You had to put in that sports show don't get fired, right?
Part-time PR manager.
Yes, you're a part-time PR manager. And even in the first stage, Yuanji, how long would you say that you had to suspend disbelief early on about the viability of Flesh and Blood as a game? Early days.
Yeah,
right?
let's talk first about your entry into Flesh and Blood, and I'll talk about my exposure to the game.
Okay.
And then how
Sure.
about
Absolutely. My entry into Flesh and Blood, truth be told, I think I said this in passing, the Fabled Hunters and I were planning on doing a Magic the Gathering channel, and she had some complications. Up until, I guess, Double Masters came out, I had wanted to do an MTG channel to buy and open up MTG and talk and sing the praises of Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
But after, I think, it was definitely Double Masters. After Double Masters and after
UPC.
Getting screwed on the UPCs and getting denied 300 packs, they still owe me 100 packs, but getting denied those packs, I was like, I'm done with this. And I'll attest to this because I was sitting in a steakhouse with James and the LSS executive crew in Europe, and they had asked me, why did you get into Flesh and Blood? And honestly, in the early days, and I said this when questioned at that time, in the early days, about 40% of it was to provide an alternative to Magic the Gathering, because I did not believe. I wanted to help lead a counterculture to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And the other 60% was because I love this game and I love the collectability of this game. But later on, that 40% went down to maybe 10-15%.
Yeah.
And it was about really, I think the inflection point was when James sent me that E-Strike mat, but more importantly, that handwritten note.
In New Zealand. Okay. Wow. Dear Saint, thank you for your support and belief in Flesh and Blood as a genuine contemporary collectible. I hope you continue to enjoy our workmanship, and best of luck on your hunt for the elusive Fableds. James White, creator. Oh my God,
so sweet.
Well, first off, I didn't know to open it in the beginning. You remember that? You
Oh,
edited that video. I did.
Yeah, you're like,
Mike and I, it was like, oh, it's just a retailer appreciation kit.
and then you got an email.
And then I got to like, just open the box, man. And even some other buddies were like, dude, you got to open your gifts.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, whoa, this has gone from, guys don't support Wizards of the Coast to guys, Fab is about community, Fab is about the relationships, Fab is from the top down about people.
Yeah.
And about valuing, people and how we all can connect and how we can put aside all our differences and enjoy this great game together. So that's kind of, the early days, early steps of Fabled Hunters for me, and why Fabled Hunters for me.
I first played trading card games primarily Magic the Gathering. I think growing up, starting from around middle school.
Yep.
Up until
for me, high school in the 90s.
Yeah, up until like 2016, I was playing Magic the Gathering either like casually or just like online, or I would play competitively for a couple of years, and I basically had put trading card games like down after that. I was like focusing on other aspects of my life, and then I think it was around, so like COVID had hit, and then I was basically like reconnecting with a lot of reconnecting with Michael, and
shout out to Cards with Michael.
Yeah, and then doing like a lot of stuff there, and then Michael was like really into Flesh and Blood as a card game, and I remember at the time I was kind of just like, hey, whatever, it's just like another one of those.
It's a fad. You thought it was a fad. It was an indie thing, and you were like, 200 other companies, card game companies, have started ever since Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And they've all died. What's so special about this game, Saint, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when, even when you were starting to work on the channel, you asked me a couple times, and even though I had begun playing the game a little bit more seriously, you were like, oh, are you like all in on Flesh and Blood? And I said, I think every time that you asked me, I was like, no,
not really. It's just a thing. It's just, I guess I'll try it, right?
Well, it's like one of those things where like I always hesitate to be too high. Like you never want to have too high highs,
of course,
or too low lows.
Yeah, you want to temper your expectations on both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed playing the game. I thought that it kind of satisfied a competitive, creative type of itch. When I was playing Magic the Gathering, I always really enjoyed like the deck building aspect of it, and so Flesh and Blood, a lot of it is like kind of figuring out like what is the best like way that you should build these heroes, and so it had that element of it, of the gameplay, that I really liked. But even though I really liked the organized play aspect of it, I think I've even like sent an email to James about this in the past. I was like, honestly, like I know from experience that competitive card gamers aren't the core of the success of any of these trading card games. Like you really need to have a strong casual appeal, and a lot of people throw the word casual around like it's insulting, but I don't think so. I think casual just means that it has to be like accessible, like easy to pick up and play.
Yeah.
And to have a good experience no matter like what level of investment you have in the game.
For sure.
And I felt that aspect of Flesh and Blood was a little bit missing, and I think even to this day still is. And a lot of hopes are pinned on PvE, and I think I told you, I was like, I think if PvE is a big hit, then I'll be all in on the game. And it doesn't have to be PvE, honestly. Like it can be like any other way to enjoy the game in like a less like invested form.
They've got commoner format, shapeshifter format, they've got ultimate pit fight, right? But they're all segmented right now. There's not one casual format to bring the entire community together yet.
Yeah, and so I think that there's different ways that it can go, but ultimately I think having met all of the people who are working on the game, and having like talked to either like online or in person to all the people who are working on the game, I can say, and this is a sentiment that you have, that even if I'm not fully on board with the product, I do believe that the people behind the scenes are working to bring the product to that level.
Tirelessly, yes. And they do adapt to the needs of the market, the needs of the community, and they listen. They definitely listen, because there was an outcry or an uproar when there was, I guess, a lot of unlimited product on the market.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
It got handled. There was a lot of people saying that Everfest should not have an unlimited format, and
I think it recently just got taken off of the page.
It got taken off of the page, so that question had answered itself. And not only that, although in an idealistic world, James White wanted to appease both the collectors with the first edition printing and the players with the unlimited printing, but it didn't work out in the second cycle, right? The Monarch, Tales of Aria, and Everfest cycle, that block. Because honestly, I mean, from a behind the scenes perspective, greed, selfishness, and market manipulation was what happened.
Sure.
So as a result, James pivoted and went towards Fab 2.0, which then, he brought it back. He brought the trust and the confidence and the support of both sides of the community back with Uprising and Flesh and Blood 2.0, right?
Yeah, and so I think that if you ask me today, like, what my feelings of Flesh and Blood compared to when we first started working on the channel, I would say now that I feel much better about the direction that the game is going. I think that definitely in 2021 to 2022, that like period, I did feel very strongly that maybe they were a little bit too focused on the like the top like competitive end of players. And I mean, like, it was great, I think, for the perspective that was the segment of the audience that I was a part of. But I think that I do see now, especially a lot of their like attention to try to have these more like lore articles.
Yeah, the articles are nice.
Yeah, as well.
I read the Christmas article, and then they had that spoiler in there as well. Yep.
Yeah, as well as kind of, I think they have an evolution in terms of how they're approaching like the marketing of the game and how they're approaching what is important to them. That I feel not necessarily a pivot, but I feel like they are going to address some of the issues that I had with the game initially.
Absolutely, yes. I think they calibrate and they address all the issues. I believe the last major issue that they have not addressed is the next wave of print runs. However, I also think at the same time, it's like they released the print run numbers of the first 3 sets. The next sets, or the past 5 sets, does it really matter? Does it really matter at this point whether the print runs are high or they're low? They came out with the Monarch numbers at 125K, and I think we can confidently say that at 125,000 boxes of anything, that is not enough to sustain the market today. And even if Tales of Aria were double or triple, I don't think it's 4, 5, or 10 times of what it was in Monarch.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And we just made a video about this in Long Game. Support our Patreon, Long Game.
Yeah.
That the WTR Unlimited, the Arcane Rising Unlimited, and even the Crucible Unlimited, that supply, ever since it's been out of print, is getting gobbled up, and all of the set 4, 5, and 6 boxes should follow that trend, right?
Yeah, I think having the collector numbers eventually get released is an important part of kind of the trust that they're building. But I think that the product is already established to the point where it's not like the sole thing that's like holding up. I think trust in the sustainability of the product. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think if you're a collector and then you kind of know by now what you're signing up for if you choose to buy some of these boxes and you want to hold on to them. And so far, I don't think that, like, definitely LSS hasn't really done anything that would make me think that they're doing like a kind of like Fallen Empires. Huge printing.
People are trying to say Monarch is like Fallen Empires, but like that's just the naysayers. That's just the paranoid, pearl-clutching, Magic the Gathering loyalists, because they never played the game. If you look at Monarch, first off, there's still pallets of Fallen Empires lying around, in wholesalers and LGS's places. Whereas there's not that many pallets of Monarch. There weren't that many to begin with, because 125,000 boxes is not all that much. Second off, 2 out of the 4 heroes, so Chain and Prism, out of the 4 heroes, Chain, Prism, Bolton, and Leviah, already retired. They performed so well, and their cards were so dominant that they hit Living Legend retirement status. That's how viable they were. That's how much they were played. And they will come back into meta once the Living Legend format is back in. So I would say that Monarch is more akin to, call it a MTG Legends than it is a Fallen Empires, right?
Yeah, and so like I think that we're getting like a little bit sidetracked, but but I think talking about like the channel and growing into I guess our
coming into our own.
Yeah. Like follow like why we do almost exclusively Flesh and Blood content. I think it really speaks to I guess like the belief that we have in the team that is running the game, that it is viable for us to make this channel and to have I think like interesting experiences and things to talk about and things to show off within the game.
I completely agree, Yuanji, and I wanted to thank the team at Legend Story Studios for having belief in us as well and not restricting us at any point. And so far we haven't been penalized. We haven't even had a raised eyebrow for any of the content we've made, and we've been a part of every single spoiler season. I don't want to sound entitled, but it would be really nice if we were in the future as well, and we really appreciate every single one. It gives us an opportunity to kind of showcase our passion for the game and connect with the other collectors. And Yuanji is right that the majority of our episodes are focused around Flesh and Blood. However, I do have almost a 30-year, well, more 29-year history in Magic the Gathering, and I'd like to draw upon that experience. And a lot of viewers of this channel and a lot of viewers that see me on Rudy's content or content with Dan or other places, in YouTube, they'll say that I'm just a salty former Magic collector. And it's true. I am pretty salty, but I'm salty. I'm salty about Wizards of the Coast and their mismanagement of Magic the Gathering, probably in the past decade, and and exponentially more so as we get to the post-pandemic era. And let me just tie this together with a conversation I had with the executives at BGS, Beckett Grading Services. They're like, Saint, why are you, spreading this negative information about Beckett? You have presumably millions of dollars of our assets. And I said, because, I have to spread that out there to let you know that something's wrong with your brand. I will even go support other brands and advocate for other brands until you get your act together. And that might have been one of the, the initial impetus. Like, let me go support something else so that they can give Magic the Gathering a run for their money. I've had conversations literally with the Rudy, the Taco Emperor himself down in Florida. And he said, you know what, early days, I'm supporting Flesh and Blood because they can give Magic. I'm a Magic channel. I've got the largest position possibly in the world in Magic the Gathering products, but I'm supporting Flesh and Blood so that they can give the big boys a run for their money. And I had that same sentiment, but given the lack of change of direction of Hasbro executives and Wizards of the Coast, especially what they did with Dungeons and Dragons, especially further messaging that we'll probably talk about on Last Month Today in future episodes. I'd say that I have been all in on Flesh and Blood for more than the past year, for the past year and a half plus. So ever since that inflection point where I received that playmat from James and I received that handwritten letter from James, I saw myself as a bannerman for Legend Story Studios and for Flesh and Blood. I've been all in since, but I don't know if you can be all in even more. It's, the passion, the support, the attention, the commitment to the game has just steadily increased. And I hope we can continue being a loyal steward of the idea, the vibes, the ideology of coming together and playing great games for Flesh and Blood in the years to come. So take it away, Yuanji.
Yeah, hopefully in the coming years we're going to open some more stuff.
Oh, that's right.
And
we still have to open a heart on camera. Damn it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep opening stuff. We're gonna keep trying to promote the parts of Flesh and Blood that we really find a lot of enjoyment out of, and also be critical of some of the issues that we see, all in hopes that we get a better product in the end.
Yeah, and be transparent about it along the way. But I have immense faith in James White and the entire leadership team at Legend Story Studios. And in the meantime, we will find fun opportunities to chase those Fableds. And again, like I said, we're not going to stop opening Welcome to Wraith Alpha until we pull that darn Cold Foil Heart of Findall.
Yeah.
That is still the mission, and that part has definitely not changed. Thank you so much for viewing this episode and being a loyal follower and sometimes patron of Fabled Hunters, and we hope you like what we're trying to do here. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, twiddle that notification button, support this guy on Patreon so he can go to more tournaments.
Yep.
And I guess that's it, guys.
All right, see you guys on the next one.
All right, bye.